Good evening. Welcome to the Joint Planning and Zoning Board and Board of Commissioners meeting of June the 3rd, 2025. I am Briggs Simmons, the Planning and Zoning Chairman. Prior to this meeting, announcements were posted and notices were sent to all board members, commissioners, staff, interested parties, and applicants participating in the meeting. I will now turn the meeting over to Dr. Ramona Jackson Jones to introduce and confirm the presence of our commissioners. Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Again, I'm Dr. Ramona Jackson Jones, the Chairman of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners, and certainly I will call roll and allow my fellow commissioners to introduce themselves. I will start with Vice Chairman Mark Alcaraz of District 4.
Present.
Commissioner Mitchell, Henry Mitchell III, District 1. Present. And Commissioner Martin Raxton, District 3.
Present.
And then District 2, Commissioner Kenneth Jones is not with us tonight. Okay. We do have a quorum, and I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Also, we have present members of the Planning and Zoning Board. If you would confirm your presence when I call your name. We have Rob Thomas, our Vice Chair from District 3.
Present.
Melissa Polk, District 4.
Present.
Brandon Penniman, District 1.
Present.
And Dr. Chris Small, our Douglas County School System Representative.
Present.
Thank you very much. We do have a quorum. Allison Duncan, our Planning and Zoning Manager, will now introduce the county staff and Planning and Zoning staff present in the meeting. Ms. Duncan.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight we have with us our Chief of Staff, Tiffany Stewart Stanley. We have our Chief Assistant County Attorney, Audrey Lewis. We have our County Engineer, Travis McDonald. We have our Managing Director of DOT, Suleiman Rana. We have our DOT Engineer, Bruce Mercer. We have our Zoning Administrator, Austin Cronin. Our County Planner, Melody Glenn. And our Clerk of the Planning and Zoning Board, Johanna Womack. Would also like to, as always, thank our communications team and our sheriff's deputies for being with us this evening. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. There's a reversionary clause that applies to each rezoning, and that is the applicant, agent, or property owner has 24 months to vest the zoning change after the Board of Commissioners grants an approval. As far as tonight's procedures go, I will conduct a public hearing on each matter. Planning and zoning staff will introduce each application, followed by a full presentation on that application. The applicant or their representative and members of the public in favor of an application will be able to present their information. Each person will have 2 minutes for an allocated time of 15 minutes. Following that, members of the public in opposition to an application will also be able to present their information, 2 minutes per person for an allocated time of 15 minutes. After the opposition completes their input or the time has elapsed, public hearing will be closed. At that point, the staff will clarify any points of the zoning case. If the staff can't clarify, then the applicant or their property owner will be asked questions. This is not a time for them to represent their case, but to clarify any questions. Planning and zoning staff will then entertain a motion. Before we get to our first agenda item tonight, there's some things that we probably need to take up. Ms. Duncan, do you have a recommendation for the board?
Yes, sir. A few housekeeping details. Let me see if I can get the... Let me see if I can you ask the communications team why our slides aren't advancing? Thank you. We do have one housekeeping detail. We would like to change the order of the agenda. So we are asking the board to move the application for SDC ATLA LLC to the top of the agenda. And then Alliance Industrial Partners would be next. Main Drilling and Blasting after that. And then the OIP at 13201 Veterans Memorial would be after that. And apologies. And then the OIP at 13950 Veterans Memorial would be last on the agenda. If anybody is here in regard to the Liberty Custom Homes application, that item has been withdrawn completely from the agenda for consideration. And I am sorry, I cannot get the slides to advance here. Let me try real quick to just. There we go. Okay. All right. So again, we are looking for a motion to change the order of the agenda so that the cases will be heard in that order there. And again, for the benefit of the community, if anybody is here in regard to Liberty Custom Homes, that application has been withdrawn completely. Happy to answer any questions, but otherwise we'd be looking for a motion from the Planning and Zoning Board and then the Board of Commissioners to approve the order of the agenda as presented.
Thank you very much. Planning and Zoning Board, do I have a motion to change tonight's agenda?
This is Rob Thomas. I make a motion to approve the agenda change read in by staff.
Do I have a second?
This is Melissa Polk. You have a second?
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the agenda change, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. The proposed agenda change comes to the Board of Commissioners with 100% approval from Planning and Zoning.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to change the order of the agenda and plus with the removal of Z 2025-50?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. In a discussion, board, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 4-0 unanimous vote with no opposition, and the motion carries. I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Okay, our next agenda item, or what we need to take up first, would be the approval of the minutes of the May 6, 2025 regular joint Planning and Zoning and Board of Commissioners meeting. Planning and Zoning Board, you've read those minutes. Do I have any changes or discussion? Hearing none, can I have a vote to approve the minutes of May 6, 2025?
This is Melissa Polk. I make a motion to approve the minutes from the May 6, 2025 meeting.
Do I have a second?
Rob Thomas, a second.
Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes of the May 6, 2025 meeting, please signify by raising your hand. I wasn't there, so I'm not going to vote. Madam Chairman, the minutes of the May 6, 2025 meeting comes to you with a recommendation for approval.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, you've had an opportunity to review the May 6, 2025 meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approval, please indicate by raising your right hand. Commissioner Mitchell, did you? Oh, well, that was quick. Okay, no problem. We have a 4-0 unanimous vote and the motion carries with no opposition, and I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Okay, Ms. Duncan, would you present our next item, please?
All right. Next item on the agenda is Z 2025-55 and S 2025-56. This is a rezoning and a special use permit for a data center and associated uses filed by SDC ATLA LLC. The applicant has asked to be deferred to the July 8th meeting. If it is the will of the Planning and Zoning Board and Board of Commissioners to defer this item, staff would recommend that we do not commence with the public hearing this evening, but rather if it is deferred, we will take all steps to re-advertise as appropriate for this item to place it on the July 8th regular meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody representing SDC that would like to come to the podium and agree with that request to move to July?
Evening, one Joe Fowler, Post Office Box 49, Douglasville. We do request that the matter be tabled. All of you have seen the packages that fully describe the nature of the project, what's proposed long-term, short-term and long-term. It's a great investment for Douglas County. We have some few details to iron out, and we'd ask you to put it to the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fowler. Planning and Zoning Board, do I have a motion on Z 2025-55 and S 2025-56?
This is Rob Thomas. I'd like to make a motion to table S 2025-54, 55, and 56 to the July 8th
Yes.
Planning and Zoning Board meeting.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? 55,
Is this
55, 56.
55 and
Let me
56?
restate then.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I
yeah.
did say 54, didn't I? Okay. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to table Z 2025-55 and S 2025-56 to the July 8th Planning and Zoning Board meeting.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of making that request to table Z 2025-55 and S 2025-56, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. The recommendation to table Z 2025-55 and S 2025-56 until the July meeting comes to you with a unanimous approval.
Thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Vice Chairman, you have the floor to make a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to table or defer Z 2025-55, S 2025-56 until the July 8th Planning and Zoning Board of Commissioners meeting.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the table. Board, any questions or discussion? Okay, being none, all in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand if you're in favor of tabling. Okay, we have a full unanimous vote and the motion carries to
Thank
table.
you very much.
I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you very much. We'll see y'all, Mr. Fowler, next month. At this point in time, anybody that's here for that particular item, it has been changed to July if you do not want to stay. Also, the other items on the board that have been withdrawn was the Dorset Shoals stuff, Mark Turner Road, and the townhomes on Highway 92. So if you're here for those will not be heard tonight. Don't want you to have to sit here through a meeting you don't need to be in. Okay, our next item, please, Ms. Duncan. All right, let's give them a second to get out.
I think they got it.
All right.
Okay.
The next item we have on the agenda is M 2025-01, Z 2025-44, S 2025-45. This is a request for future land use map rezoning and special use permit. The application has been filed by Alliance Industrial Partners. This is a request for rezoning from heavy commercial with conditions as well as residential low density to light industrial restricted. This is for a 320,000 square foot warehouse building. It is located at Lee and Vulcan Road. It's about 20 acres and it is located in Commission District Number 1. So this is on the east side of Lee Road and the west side of Sweetwater Road. You saw it in the picture previously. This is a large southerly tract of the property that's heavily wooded and undeveloped. It's been zoned commercially for a number of years. There is existing environmental concerns relating to the granite and some low-lying areas on the property. The smaller tract has a single-family residence that is currently zoned residential low density on the property. So again, as we had indicated previously, the applicant is proposing a warehouse facility. It's approximately 320,000 square feet, single side-loaded shipping warehouse. All access as proposed by the development team would be from Lee Road. There is no access proposed for South Sweetwater Road. There is additional right-of-way along Lee Road and or Sweetwater Road that would be required if the Board of Commissioners were to approve the request. So we analyzed the relevant code sections, and that's what you see here before you. We also took a look at the previous zoning cases, and again, this is not the first time this tract has been in front of the Board of Commissioners. We have seen it regularly over the last several years. The large portion of the property was initially rezoned to allow for a shopping center in 2001. It does have those environmental challenges, as I'd indicated, and then previously we had some questions about the proposed new alignment of Lee Road. It was anticipated to bisect this parcel, but subsequently it looks like there's an alignment now that may have a minimal impact to the property. We do have our colleagues from DOT here to answer any questions that you may have about the proposed Lee Road widening in that area. Again, Lee Road carries approximately 15,000 vehicle trips per day, so we do have some concerns about introducing additional tractor-trailer traffic into this area. It's also located in an area that is mostly low-density residential and commercial uses. It is a gateway node into Douglas County, so we do recognize that it is on the I-20 corridor, and that there is a smaller, older generation industrial park located in proximity. But we do think that the scale of the project is more in keeping with the more intensive industrial uses that we've located in the Thornton Road and Factory Shoals area of the county. When we looked at the analysis of the existing Sweetwater Industrial, generally most of those buildings are under 30,000 square feet. There are two buildings out there that are between 100 and 150,000 square feet. So a 320,000 square foot logistics facility does feel like it's incompatible with the scale of the adjacent uses. The comprehensive plan identified that this area would be appropriate for kind of more heavy commercial and gateway-oriented uses, and that the existing industrial would most likely transition over time to heavy commercial uses, given the scale of the buildings. Most of what we have out in that area are currently contractor supply houses and various businesses that service the building trades. So again, that was our primary concern, in addition to the fact that it is not compatible with the vision as outlined in the comprehensive plan for the redevelopment of this portion of the corridor. So we did take a look at the future land use map analysis, and we did find that with the request as proposed does not seem to be compatible with the comprehensive plan. We looked at the rezoning criteria and found a similar finding in addition to the special use permit. So here is the current zoning map showing you the parcels under consideration. It is a mix of residential and commercial zoning currently. And here's the aerial image. So this is the proposed concept plan submitted by the development team. This has been reviewed through DRC, and they have been working with our colleagues in DOT about the potential Lee Road alignment, and so they can speak further about that if there are any questions in regard to that. So again, looking at this area, we have it identified under the Community Village Center classification, reflecting its gateway into Douglas County and the potential for mixed-use development in the area, and it is also located within the traditional neighborhood character area. So staff is recommending denial of the future land use map amendment and rezoning and special use permit based on the findings that this would substantially modify the intent, purpose, and spirit of the Douglas County Unified Development Code, and it could have a negative impact on surrounding properties, and then granting the request will adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare. We do not think that this reflects best practice for this area. However, in the event that the board is inclined to approve the recommendation, we do have findings and conditions for that as well. So the conditions focus, first and foremost, the applicant should submit to the Development Review Committee within 6 months from the date of the approval for the review and consideration of the specific site development and access management plans submitted to the staff report. Failure to submit to review by DRC within 6 months may result in staff returning the application back to the Douglas County Board of Commissioners for consideration of reverting the zoning back to a previous category. The reason that we are requesting this is, as I have said, we have seen this tract for many different uses over time. So we do feel that if the developer has found a way that they can move forward with the project as proposed and the board is inclined to approve their request, we do want to see this make progress and not just have a substantial tract of light industrial hanging around out there for a minute without any plan forward. So we would like to see a condition that they do need to move forward efficiently to get this in front of the reviewing departments. So we've also put a condition that is restricting it to approval for a warehouse and distribution only, for no other purpose. The use of this property for any other purpose must be approved by modification of the zoning conditions and special use permit submitted to the Board of Commissioners. And finally, any new construction on the property shall not exceed 30 feet in height and shall conform to the architectural design requirements of the Unified Development Code. Site landscaping shall be installed as a landscape strip at the direction of the Douglas County Arborist and shall include at minimum 3 canopy trees, 3 understory trees, 2 evergreen trees, and 18 shrubs per every 100 linear feet of road frontage. So those requirements are specific to the quality growth overlay. This parcel is not located in the quality growth overlay, but we are attempting to preserve the architectural scale and the landscaping of the overall area. So that concludes my staff recommendation. I'm happy to answer any other questions that you may have at this time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Duncan. If you would just stand by. At this point in time, I'll open the public hearing on this matter. Anyone, including the applicant or the applicant's agent, would like to speak, please approach the podium. You would have 2 minutes per person for an allocated time of 15 minutes. If you would state your name and address for the record, and then 2 minutes, sir.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Henry Bailey, counsel for the applicant, 3630 Peachtree Road, Suite 550. As Allison has stated, you have seen this property a number of different times for a number of different types of requests. And in staff's report, she highlights that very clearly. And in a previous staff report, the case that was withdrawn, staff was able to recommend approval for this case. Recommend approval for this particular zoning with the exact same, pretty much, development program. Right, so there's some key differences between then and now. The first difference is there's been a change in the comprehensive plan to change the character area to, as Ms. Duncan stated, village residential. The second difference is the environmental challenges that she mentioned have been solved for about this site. We've done a deep dive on the analysis of the granite issues and have solved for that and have the ability to develop the site immediately going forward. In addition to that, there was also a huge unknown regarding the realignment of Lee Road. We have met with and worked with a county DOT to have our site plan be in compliance with and in conformity with what the proposed plans are, and that site plan you see today. And in addition to that, the applicant is willing to work with DOT in ensuring that all drives and roads related to that site are constructed to DOT approval and to their standards, and will also contribute to the construction of those roadways. So the applicant has gone over and above what the county requires with respect to meeting with the neighborhood. And my client, the applicant, will speak to that in more detail here in a second. But this process has been at every step of the way. We've met with the neighborhood and come back with a different site plan to address the concerns of the neighborhood specifically. Now, you hear some people get up tonight and speak in opposition of it, and that's totally fine, and we respect their position. But I want you all to understand that at every step of the process throughout this entire process, we have been to try to ensure that whatever site plan we put before you today is reflective of the conversations that we've had with not only the county, but the constituents as well. Thank you, and I ask that you recommend approval of this, and we have some comments to the conditions as well when we get to that
Okay,
conversation.
so you do agree with the conditions, Mr. Bailey?
We have some comments to the conditions as well that we've discussed with Ms. Duncan before.
Okay.
Yeah, so
All
we'll,
right.
we'll speak to that.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
Yep.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor, please approach the podium. Name and address, and in 2 minutes, sir.
Hello, my name is Edwin Thurman with the Alliance Industrial Partners, the applicant, 1720 Peachtree Street Northeast. Before and after submitting this rezoning application, I've met with over 40 constituents and held more than 5 community information meetings, 2 outside of the 2 that were required. After each meeting, we revised our site plan to directly address constituent concerns and presented our revisions at subsequent meetings. For example, we added a truck entrance along the southern boundary of the property to reduce trucks and traffic along Lee Road. After coordinating with Douglas County DOT and reviewing conceptual approved plans for the Lee Road expansion and Sweetwater Connector, we mutually agreed that trucks should should exit via the future Sweetwater Connector. Alliance Industrial is offering to build Sweetwater Connector to DOT standards at our own expense. And we're willing to dedicate it back to Douglas County when construction is complete on the remaining portion of Lee Road and Sweetwater Connector, saving taxpayer money. Through the many meetings with constituents and meeting Douglas County DOT, we've optimally designed our project to have seamless ingress and egress and mitigate traffic impacts. We've conducted extensive due diligence, including but not limited to light pollution, thorough geotechnical analyses, and multiple traffic studies using third-party consultants. According to the traffic study, if the property was developed under its current zoning of heavy commercial, there would be more than 8,000 daily car and truck trips. With our proposed project, there would be at most 600 daily car and truck trips. The consultant also noted that the project would have minimal traffic impact on the surrounding intersections. Throughout the process, we've remained transparent, engaging with the community, listening to feedback, revising our plans, and presenting updates. Alliance Industrial Partners has been committed and forthcoming neighbors, and we will continue to do so going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application, please approach the podium. If you'd state your name and address for the record, and then you have 2 minutes, sir.
Yes, sir. My name is Kenneth Rucker, and I live at 1835 Jenny Lane, which is essentially an interstate and a street over from the property proposed. I am in support of the building plans for that property because I think it is the minimalist impact to the traffic conditions in that area, which we see is being revamped as we speak. the streets are being revamped because of the heavy traffic in that area. I think that this land, proposed land use is going to be the best alternative to that area. And I say that because I definitely don't want to see, which I think is entirely possible, a multifamily dwelling built on that property. I do not want to see anything where there's a higher increase of volume of traffic in that area to the degree that is more than what we're proposing here. I've been told of the plans. I think it would be an attractive addition to the community, to that area, and it would not impact negatively the property values in that area. So I am in support of the proposed building in that area. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your input. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Name and address for the record, and in 2 minutes, please.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Ringfield, and I actually live and work in that area. My address is 2611 Johnsbrook Drive, Lithia Springs, Georgia, 30122, and it's right off of Lee Road, and then my clinic is off of Sweetwater, 6949 South Sweetwater Road. So from my understanding, this property is kind of north of Lee Road in an already light industrial area, so it would kind of already be fitting in to what's already there. And so I'm in agreement with the previous speaker, Mr. Rucker. We probably don't need any more multi-dwelling places in the area anymore. We have plenty that are already coming up. And so, and that means jobs as well. I think that would bring some jobs into the area, and we could definitely use more employment. So,
Thank you very much for your input. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
My name is
State your
Bob.
name and address, and in 2 minutes.
My name is Bobby Outlaw. I live at 1215 12 Oaks Drive. I'm also in favor of the project. I don't think, and one thing I saw when they proposed to paying for the extension of the road, it's going to save the county some money, which we all know we want to save some money. I don't think, like the first speaker spoke about, multi-family homes, that's more people, more traffic. What I'm hearing is it's not going to be a big impact on the traffic. We all know traffic in the whole area is bad. So we speak about traffic all the time, but you get on I-20 in the morning, and when they hadn't moved the cones at a certain time, you got bad traffic. So I live like maybe 4 miles away from there. It's not, I don't think it's going to be a big problem. So I'm in for it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your input. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Okay, seeing no one moving, I'll close the public hearing in favor and open the public hearing in opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application, please approach the podium. You two will also have 2 minutes per person for an allocated time of 15 minutes. If you'd state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Kelly King, and we live at 7271 Synyard Road in Lithia Springs. We've spent 50-plus years in Douglas County, the last 26 of which have been raising our family on Synyard Road. Several in our family work in this area, as well as myself, as well as attend local church. Our goal is to retire and enjoy the rest of our lives in Douglas County. We've invested our time and money in our home, the same as my neighbors have done. We've attended quite a few meetings over the last several years, a few of which were planning and discussions on what we and our neighbors wanted in the area. We have stated over and over, and it's listed in the Douglas County Comprehensive Plan, that we want the area to stay green space. The citizens of the county have said emphatically over and over, no more warehouses. We especially do not want another warehouse in this area and not in our backyard. We've met with the project lead, with the developer. We've met with, once with planning and zoning, and again at separate meetings. Neither of the meetings have changed our minds on the potential development. It's only strengthened our no, not in our backyard. We have looked at other projects for Alliance Industrial, and he's mentioned Factory Show's location that was mentioned several times in the meetings. That location is 117,000 feet, while this proposed site is 320,000, almost 3 times as large, with nicer established residential neighborhoods around it. Nowhere does this make sense, especially in this area. We as a county have warehouses being built all around the county, wiping out green spaces, pushing wildlife out, and butting up to homes and neighborhoods. We as citizens have had enough. Yes, there are a few smaller size, older warehouse types in the area, but nothing new in years. The truck traffic is already horrendous in the area, and this will only make it worse on Lee and South Sweetwater roads. I've looked at the website for the developer. They're out of state with projects across the south to Texas with target markets all the way west to Nevada and north to Illinois. It's not a local company trying to bring in small business. These are outside national developers who I guarantee do not have our best interests at heart. They're in business to make money, and that's it. We live here, and there's also a huge cemetery very close to that site.
Okay, that's your 2 minutes. Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? If you'd state your name and address, and in 2 minutes, sir.
John Edward Johnston, 2990 East Anderson Drive, Lithia Springs, Georgia, 30122. I am here tonight to oppose the construction of yet another large commercial warehouse located in the Lithia Springs area of eastern Douglas County. There are already numerous vacant commercial warehouses within 2 miles of this location, along Munier Avenue, Blairs Bridge Road, and Douglas Hill Road. It would be much easier and much cheaper for a company to occupy one of these existing vacant warehouses than it would be to construct a new one, unless the intent of the owner is to just build it and let it sit there empty, adding to the inventory of vacant commercial warehouses in our community. Instead of being surrounded by tree-lined streets and green spaces that drew many of us to this area, we now will have to stare at yet another drab gray wall of concrete. For this reason, I am opposed to yet another commercial warehouse in Lithia Springs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing no one, yep, there's somebody. State your name and address in 2 minutes, sir.
Jeremiah Paranack, 3040 Beaumont Road, Douglasville, Georgia. Man, I've got so much to tell you. I tell you all the time, transportation creates value. The thing that adds most value to your person, to the people you love, is education, because it transmits ideas from you to me to her, so on. Transportation creates value in your community because it transmits people and goods, okay? Transportation creates value in our community. We have to understand, is it positive or negative value? It'd be helpful if you put the picture back on the screen, please. This is a freight facility. This is not a residential facility. This is not facilitating the local movement of people and goods. This is part of Atlanta as a national freight hub. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Allison. So, this is, Atlanta is a national freight hub. In 2017, the freight trucking industry was adversely impacted by the electronic logging devices, which no longer allowed truckers to cook the book, so to speak. And so what that has done is it caused a lot of people to retire. There's a shortage of trucking drivers. So this kind of outfall is appropriate timeline of development of freight infrastructure. Okay, so that's what this is. This is a freight infrastructure. Let's see. The other thing was this, Atlanta is so dysfunctional and bankrupt and broken and divided. I swear, everybody in opposition and everybody, so I gotta say, you gotta respect yourself before I can. We picked that up from an old tune back in the 90s. It came out of Atlanta. It's called Beautiful Skin. But anyway, you look at who's in favor, who's opposite, but you gotta respect yourself before anybody else can. Douglas County, you gotta respect yourself. There's plenty, if you go Fulton Industrial Boulevard, there's plenty of these freight logistics hubs. These people plan on large time scales, okay? Whenever the ELD problems came along and all the other regulations, they say, hey, we need to stop the truck drivers sooner in their route. We need to reconfigure the flow of freight across the country. Right now, 285 and 20 is about to get a $1.2 billion upgrade. That's not to move people on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, guaranteed. It's to move this kind of freight through the city of Atlanta. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Okay, seeing no one. Oh. How are we doing on time? 9 minutes. You state your name and address for the record in 2 minutes.
David Parks, and I live in Austell, Georgia. We own a business on Lee Road directly across from this warehouse. The traffic in that area is horrendous, which is why the new road plan is in place. That road plan, the start of it was in '92. It's never been completed. Now they're telling us that they want to build this warehouse, and there's no infrastructure in that area for such a facility. It's another case of putting the cart before the horse. There's no sewer on that property. The water system in that area is subpar at best. The power system in that area is not capable of handling that. Why would you want to start another area like this, put it over there where all the data centers but they don't want it over there either because it'll make it inconvenient for them. But I just think that this development is being put ahead of the infrastructure in the area, and the county is going to be the one that suffers for it. The county residents are going to be the one that suffered for it. These people are going to build this development, sell it to Amazon or whoever they wanted, and then they're gone, so they don't have to deal with it anymore. We were also told at the start of this that it was going to be a 200,000 square foot facility. That's since changed in this paperwork that we received here tonight to 320. And according to the site plan you have on the board there, it's 322. What is it actually going to be by the time it's built? Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Okay, anyone else wishing to speak in favor, in opposition?
If it please the county.
You've already had your turn.
Okay, I'll just speak to council.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
What's that?
Okay, seeing no one moving, are you coming to speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You'd state your name and address for the record.
My name is Hayden Layton. I'm 217 Oak Hill Court, Lithia Springs, Georgia, 30122. I'm a young guy. I've had the opportunity to work on some construction sites. And I agree with the notion that we don't need more drab nonsense around here. I think that I speak for everybody when I say we love trees. We love the greens. We love this state because there is greenery here to look at. I think that's a universal fact. And I don't think we need right there, right as we're going, to the rest of the dreary day, another thing to look at that's just a construction site that'll be there for years making litter and doubtlessly there to do not a whole lot. I mean, I don't have much else to say but that. I just like the greens.
Okay. Thank you very much for your input. We appreciate it. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Okay, seeing no one moving at this point in time, I'll close the public hearing on this matter. Planning and Zoning Board, do you have any questions of the applicant or staff?
It's Rob Thomas. I have a question for, I guess I'll start with DOT. Someone from DOT is here to address the traffic.
Good evening.
Hi. So you heard currently as a heavy commercial, they mentioned, the applicant mentioned that we're looking at about 800 as opposed to this change, this rezoning going to be down to 600. What is your take on this, on the impact, especially with the Lee Road project going on now, the widening and everything?
Right.
What's your take on the impact?
Well, Lee Road is certainly one of our major thoroughfares of the county. As of today, we see approximately 13,000 to 15,000 daily cars on the Lee Road corridor between US 78 all the way to Fairburn. The entire corridor was envisioned for widening, corridor-wide improvements that include adding turn lanes, additional improvements, intersection improvements, signals, and various other improvements along the entire length. And that was because of the growth that's happening surrounding this area. As of right now, the corridor operates at a levels of service of D. It fluctuates between C and D on how you evaluate it. D means A meaning the best, F being failing. It currently operates at D. The project that we have currently active covers Fairburn to I-20. Then another project that you've heard of is Lee Road Phase 1. This is the project that falls within this development It goes from I-20 to US 78, currently under design, slated for construction by 2029. So all in all, this development does generate considerable traffic, mostly heavy truck traffic, given the use. It would certainly add to the ongoing issues we have with truck traffic, congestion, safety issues along the corridor. But all of that to say, our project, when done, will potentially encompass all of those issues. They have also agreed to making several improvements that the DOT had requested. Our largest challenge with this parcel over time has been its compatibility with our project, which is Lee Road Phase 1. We do have a high degree of confidence that we've worked out most of the details and will continue to work on the rest, that at least the access part and the improvement piece of the project was well coordinated, and they've agreed to perform any and all necessary improvements required to accommodate DOT requests.
So you mentioned that the second phase of the project on Lee Road, you're saying that you're not going to bisect it. I know this thing's been in front of us many times,
right?
For truck parking, and several different things. And that was one of the issues, that we wasn't sure exactly how the road was going to be cut
right
through there.
So yes, over time that too has refined. Now, initially back in early 2000s, the proposed alignment was to completely take this parcel and have Lee Road realigned to run through this parcel. That has changed over time, and that design is not feasible anymore. As of right now, we're actively redesigning the entire corridor, and what that includes is, or proposes, is widening the Lee Road from at the offset of the existing limits. So what alignment you have today will potentially be expanded into more turn lanes, sidewalks, and other accommodations, and we won't be realigning through this parcel. So what that means is we don't need the entire parcel for the road project. We just need the right-of-way at the frontage to accommodate our expansion.
Okay. But that's something that will start to 2029. You said 2029 going to start, or?
We are in design as of right now, and it is scheduled for construction in 2029.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's the only question I have for you.
Any other questions, planning and zoning?
I have another one for the applicant. So, you mind coming up, please? So you said you had several meetings with the constituents, with the residents.
Yes, sir.
What's your take as far as, what I'm hearing is they said they take away that was still a hard no.
Sure.
Continue no. What type of improvements, what did you do to kind of adjust? And also, can you address the fact that it is 322,000 square feet? Nothing else over there is even close to that. That's twice as large as any other warehouse in that area. I know that's not your problem, but nevertheless, it does impact the people that lives in that area. So what adjustments did you make? Let's start with that first.
Understood. One of the biggest issues that we had was access and truck traffic, right? And so the way we redesigned this site plan, fortunately, with the Lee Road expansion, it really gave us an opportunity to redesign the site plan from an access standpoint, in connection with what DOT was already doing, that helped to serve better the problems that the neighbors were speaking of with respect to truck traffic coming up and down Sweetwater Road. And so that's what we were trying to solve for. I think that the way we redesigned the site plan in connection with the Douglas County DOT solves that issue to an extent, by getting the truck traffic off of Lee Road as soon as possible into the site, and then exiting back out and going to the new intersection that the DOT has proposed to the north of the site that you see on the site plan. Other issues that we heard with respect to environmental, obviously we've talked ad nauseum about the environmental issues on the site from all the previous applications, and we've solved for that as well with respect to the geotechnical studies that have been done on the site to ensure that we can actually develop this site. Unlike every other applicant before you, this site can be developed based on the studies that we have done with minimal impact to the environmental concerns. Additionally, we also added screening and buffering, and Allison pointed out in the conditions additional screening and buffering that we're absolutely willing to do to make it even more robust, to ensure that there's significant screening from between this site and the neighboring residential properties. But I do want to point out that there is significant industrial type development nearby this site. Now, I understand the fact that the scale is a little bit different from what's existing now and then what we're proposing. But in today's world, for an industrial site, properties of this size are the types of properties that the industrial tenants are looking for. And even with that, we're still willing to have further conversations about what this ultimately looks like, just like we've been doing the whole time.
Okay. Tell me more about the warehouse itself, the use, the footprint.
Let's speak to that.
So the use, this would be last mile distribution facility.
A what now?
A last mile distribution facility.
Okay.
Yep, meant to service any constituents within Douglas County, Cobb County, because of the nature of the location to the interstate and because of where it's positioned. This would be the last drop-off point before it gets to its end destination. And because of the size of the warehouse, this is meant to facilitate the distribution of goods within the neighboring county and communities.
Mm-hmm.
And just really quick, just to speak further to the changes that we've made to the site plan, initially that site plan only had one truck entrance along the northern portion of Lee Road. And after speaking with constituents, that's the one issue they did not want. They didn't want trucks up and down both sides of Lee Road. We've reached out to neighboring parcels to buy their parcel, to no avail. We inevitably fell on that we need to add a truck entrance, dedicated truck entrance on the southernmost portion of the site, and that's what we added to the site. And after meeting with Douglas County DOT and finding out about Sweetwater Connector, along the northern portion is where we would have our trucks exit out. So these adjustments to the site plans have just come naturally and serendipitously over being good neighbors, being forthcoming, hearing everyone's needs and concerns.
Okay. So the size too, I mean, 300,000+ square feet. Have you considered a smaller footprint?
Well, so the size is what tenants are seeking right now. And I want to point out really quick that I-20 West, which is Douglas County, Cobb County, as a submarket, is the tightest submarket in Atlanta. It's 6.7% vacant, which is, if you look at the northeast along 85 North, it's around 8.8%. So it is the tightest submarket in Atlanta for a reason. The access for this site to I-20 and being 0.3 miles from the interstate leads it to be an industrial warehouse. But a size of that nature is what tenants who are looking to have a last mile distribution facility, they're looking for. And likely the case would be, you split into twos. You have two tenants who are 160,000 square feet each.
Okay, I'm a big proponent to, rights and property rights that people want to sell their property to any type of development they want. I mean, they own the property, they have that option. But you do have a lot of opposition to this space, especially the size of it. A little concerned. Is there anything else you want to add just before pertaining to the size? Like, is there any way we reduce? I think that's what my question is.
I mean, we're amenable to. We're amenable to reducing the size.
Okay.
That's fine. We would do that.
That'd be something obviously done in DRC, but I'm just wondering. That's something to consider. Okay, that's all I have.
We're amenable.
Greg, I do got a question.
Yeah.
I have a question for that. So one of the biggest concerns with this site is, as they mentioned, there's been multiple people who tried to attempt to do the site, and they've had kind of the same talk that they figured out the granite and figured out how to build on top of it. My question is how, and what did you guys do that everybody else didn't?
Well, so the first two, or the most recent applicants, multifamily development, which they were denied. So I assumed they figured out they could build something, but the zoning didn't match. The previous applicant was an industrial developer. They withdrew due to macroeconomics. So this is around 2022 March. So there's the interest rate hikes, and they withdrew due to that reason. We know that we can build on this site. We've done a multitude of geotechnical analyses. We know the quantity of rock. We know the location of the rock. And in fact, the rock doesn't even need to be blasted. Our general contractor, who we've gotten pricing to build the warehouse, they've let us know that the rock is actually rippable. So we don't need to blast. And even if there was a blast, on any other construction site we've had, it's just one small blast. It's not a massive blast. But this rock can be ripped.
Good to know. Next question is for Allison, real quick.
Yes, sir.
So I heard a few constituents come up here and say that they prefer not to have the opposite or the other option, which would be multifamily. But correct me if I'm wrong, in the past, multifamilies tried to build here and it was denied, correct?
There was an application for multifamily here, yes, and that was denied by the Board of Commissioners at the time.
Okay. Now, as far as property rights and options that they have, first off, can multifamily be built there without special use? And then also, are there any other options for what could be built here?
I mean, sure. So multifamily would have to go through the same rezoning process that the applicants are having to go through. The property with the current heavy commercial zoning designation on the bulk of the property was done for a shopping center back in 2001. So anything kind of coming forward other than a early 2000s era shopping center would most likely need to go back through rezoning process and potentially a special use permit process, depending on what their specific ask is. In regard to other uses on the property, I think usually the way that I answer that question is to say, based on the uses in the Unified Development Code, we would certainly work with a developer who came in and proposed, a variety of different uses. We're going to go back and look at our adopted plans to make our recommendation. And so again, the future land use map in this area identifies it as a gateway into the community, focuses on the established single-family detached neighborhoods and the small commercial uses in proximity, and suggests that a higher and better use would be some sort of mixed-use project that does include that mix of green space and commercial. There is no inherent indication it has to be a higher density use. That has been typically what we've gotten requirements or requests to do. But we would certainly work with anybody who brings us a project, and we would evaluate that through the department impact process, and then ultimately make a recommendation to this group.
Beautiful. Now, I saw that one of y'all concerns was the size of it. Is your bigger concern the size or the overall use, considering the long-term plan?
So again, I don't know that I rank concerns, right? We just kind of put them out there.
Okay.
I would share that when you look at the adjacent industrial area, this would be, again, twice the square footage of the largest building that's out there. Most of it is smaller uses in that area. And again, as we've also identified, the compatibility with what the vision was articulated based on the citizen feedback, during the 2023 comprehensive plan process, is also something that I think we rely heavily on in looking at the impacts, of any particular project. So I would say those are two things that we certainly want to put on your radar for consideration. Director Rana has addressed the DOT concerns, because again, this corridor is something that's always going to be in a state of development for the near future. And so I think that those would probably principally be the key issues, along with the fact that environmentally it's proposed challenges to previous developers. But that would be handled through DRC.
This is the last thing I'm going to say. That you answered that clearly. Thank you. This is the last thing I'm going to say. Can you explain for everybody what you mean by gateway to the community? Like, what do you mean by this area is a gateway to our community? And what is that, in layman's terms?
Yeah, I mean, sure. So when we looked at when we looked at the comprehensive plan, we identified in the Lithia Springs small area studies kind of multiple key areas where you would be coming into Douglas County. So this was one of them. The Causey Road area was a second gateway. We also looked at multiple redevelopment opportunities along Veterans Memorial. So as y'all have heard me say many times before, when you get into the Lithia Springs neighborhoods, right, those neighborhoods are solid. The houses are well maintained, families that have lived there for generations, and people who intend to, kind of make their life and their livelihood here in Douglas County. We do recognize that for a variety of reasons, some of the commercial development along the major corridors has maybe lacked investment over the years. So you've heard me say specifically, like Veterans Memorial Highway, there's been some uncertainty about the plan for widening Veterans Memorial Highway. So we think that has caused a lag in the non-residential uses to kind of keep up the services and the appearance that we would otherwise like to see in proximity to our solid, stable, single-family neighborhoods. I would argue that this corridor has suffered some similar challenges with the ambiguity of the 2007 potential realignment of Lee Road and where that was ultimately going to go up here. So again, I think historically you've seen property owners that have declined to make investments in their property in order to kind kind of wait until they had a better understanding of where the future would take them with the infrastructure improvements. And so again, I think these are key gateways. Lithia Springs have a number of what I would call key gateways, or those entrance points into the communities. And what we recognize in the comprehensive plan is that there's been a lot of deferred maintenance in those areas, kind of hanging around waiting to see what the future of the infrastructure improvements would be. And so again, I applaud Director Rana for kind of taking these projects and moving them forward. And I think that we want to make sure the transportation improvements are moving concurrently with the land use improvements. So we're bringing about that vision that the constituents give us for the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, that's huge. As a representative for District 1, that makes a lot of sense. It matters a lot, so thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions, Planning and Zoning Board? Hearing none, Madam Chairman, I yield the floor to you for questions from the Board of Commissioners.
Thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, do we have any questions for the applicant
Yeah, I do, Madam Chair.
or staff? Okay.
Yes, for the applicant, just a couple of questions. I don't remember which one mentioned, this. What is one small blast? What is that?
He's asking about the potential for a small blast to remove the rock, but it's.
Right, yeah.
Well, it's a blast in which, the general contractor places in explosives into the rock, subsurface, and there's just a single blast, and they do it wherever through the geotechnical analysis. They know exactly where the rock is. They put explosives right next to the rock along the site, and it's done all at once. So if you were on
one
site,
small, big blast.
No, so if you were on site and you saw this, it literally just like that. The ground barely moves.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard all kind of terms, but
but once again, we don't need to do that here. It's rippable rock. So it's rippable rock. Do the geotechnical analysis, they'll tell you if it's rippable rock, if it's rock.
Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead, I
Yeah,
apologize.
no problem. If there's large granite in which it's a massive boulder, but this rock, though there is rock on the site, it is rippable rock.
Okay. And I'm assuming that means, because I apologize, you kind of talking over my head.
No,
when you say-
you know what you're talking about. You got it, yeah.
Yeah, okay, but that means this rock is not as hard to maneuver or
No.
Okay, got it. And I'm assuming this will be a warehouse being built that you guys probably have got tenants to make this their last mile industrial stop or something, I think I was hearing.
So we have activity, but the thing is, most tenants and most decision makers, they won't even begin to look at a project until it's actively or is successfully rezoned.
Okay.
So it's kind of the chicken before the egg.
Okay. So you guys are working on that, though. Just again, and this last stop that's what this would be, and I'm assuming just kind of putting this whole movement of trucks.
Because of its proximity to 285 and to actual households and rooftops, this is considered a last mile distribution facility.
Got it. And last but not least, so the size. As we all kind of realized, and I think my fellow colleagues on the planning and zoning side talks about the size. And I just think I heard you guys say, we amenable to a different size. What is that? I'm just curious, not that you gotta say anything to that. I was just curious to know, because it almost triples in size with the existing industrial park.
So in
and
order
you
to-
need the size, I'm assuming, based on what you guys are trying to do, and your footprint needs that to do what you're trying to get done. Though.
I mean, so we're amenable to size, and we can go to 250,000 square feet. At that range, that still allows us to potentially have two tenants that are servicing different industries. Still, like I said, the characteristics of the building is still last mile, but 250,000 square feet. We can
And
do
please
that.
let me be clear. I'm not trying to get you to change your mind and change your. I was just.
No,
since
we're
they brought it
amenable.
up. I just want to kind of hear.
We're
'cause-
amenable. Yeah.
And last but not least, one of you guys, I don't remember who was it, your attorney or whomever else mentioned something about the conditions that we're going to talk about later. Can we talk about whatever that condition that you were having concerns with, that you were going to bring up a little bit later on so we can kind of hear what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Allison provided the staff report last week, as she normally does in normal course. We looked at the conditions, and the only thing that we wanted to sort of revise is the timeline. So she mentioned 6 months. I think we would prefer a 12-month timeline. And then on the height, she has a maximum height of 30 feet. And just for the clear height inside of the building, we were hoping to go to at least 40 feet. That will allow for the clear height in the building to be at a level that will support the types of tenants and types of uses that will be able to use the building. In addition to that, she added the idea of the landscaping and the condition that it just be warehousing and distribution. Totally fine with that. And we'll do as much landscaping as required by the conditions. And I think we may be able to do more from a screening standpoint as well.
But if I'm hearing you correctly, it's really the 6 months to 12 months.
That's
and the
correct.
30 feet to 40 feet.
That's correct.
Okay, got it. Okay, all righty. Thank you, I appreciate it. And I yield back, I'm sorry. I yield
Okay,
back.
thank you so much, Commissioner Mitchell. Commissioner Raxton, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. All right, this is to the applicant. So we keep talking about last stop destination, last mile destination. Can we talk a little bit more? What does that look like? What is it? What is the product? What is it that's going to be the last mile? What does that mean?
So the product can be a multitude of things, but when we say last mile distribution facility, it means, let's say there's a truck coming in, which could be, anything from a tractor trailer to a mid-size truck to drop off whatever goods are served, whatever goods there is. And then there's a smaller vehicle, whether it's a Sprinter van, and the Sprinter van is dropping the goods off from the facility to its end destination, whether it be a home, a business. Last mile meaning it's just going to its final destination.
From that facility?
From
Okay.
this facility, yes, sir.
Okay, is it assumed that that final destination is like West Atlanta, the West Metro area?
It can be West Metro, it could be off Thornton Road, but just within, let's say, a 2-mile, 3-mile sphere of the facility.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the potential jobs. What type of jobs, how many jobs, what will be the pay of the jobs?
Yep, so with a warehouse of this nature, we've designed it so that 204 employees can park at this facility. And when we also got our traffic study done, or multiple traffic studies, we assumed that there would be 200 employees. So we've designed the building to be able to accommodate safely at most 200 employees.
Okay, and what type of jobs, what would they be doing?
Yep, these could be anything from warehouse workers, office, or warehouse managers. So I don't want to give you an exact, price point of what these employees could be making, but this is office workers, because we designed it to have 3 office storefronts, but warehouse managers, warehouse workers, of that nature.
Okay. Then I guess my final question is, have you looked at a current existing facility and potentially rehabbing that versus coming in and building such a large square footprint in Lithia Springs?
Yes, sir. So when you get into acquiring a building and rehabbing it, there's a lot more that goes into it, from the financing. You have to go into the different aspects with the rent roll, and it's just much more difficult from a development standpoint to acquire, demolish, and build. If anything, what you can maybe do is you could develop upon excess land that warehouse is on, but in my experience, it's much more difficult in acquiring buildings, and especially in, like I said, in I-20 West submarket, it's extremely tight. It's 6.7% vacant.
Okay, but that is something you consider?
We actively look at those projects, and if there's tenants that approach us saying they want to be in one specific location, that's always something we're open to doing. And now, mind you, the owner of the property has to be open to doing as well, but actively would look at those type of projects as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I yield the floor back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Raxton. Any other questions? Okay. Just have one question for the applicant. And it's regarding the facade of the building. Certainly I understand that warehouse mundane look is not good for any any neighborhood or any community. Any suggestions? I'm looking at some things now, just researching and seeing that there are something that gives it a pristine look if something ever goes forth in that area. I certainly can't speak early, but something to give it a nice look that really, that's appealing to the area.
Yes,
that can
ma'am. And
bring
so-
that area. Could you explain what your plans are?
Yes, ma'am. So with the design of this warehouse, and we had a rendering that we put together that wasn't included in our packet, but the way this project would be designed, and we're open to designing it to any character area of the surrounding community, but we've designed this to have a high office storefront. So this would be a modern Class A facility with 3 offices, so one in the middle, one on the northern side, and one on the southern side, with 15 feet of landscaping. So planning and zoning has put in conditions for landscaping for us, but we've already assumed that we would have landscaping around the entire perimeter of the property. And we're willing to design the facade and the exterior of the building, but we've already gone about designing this in a way that is attractive not only to the citizens, but to potential tenants and constituents.
Your plans for the building, will the building be set back so it will not be very noticeable coming into off Lee Road, or are you right on the frontage?
So there will be there's building setback, but there'll also be a landscaping strip in which there'll be natural landscaping that we will plant and add to the project as we near completion, and it'll be around the entire perimeter of the property, 15-foot landscaping strip.
Any consideration for further back, setbacks or anything? Have you been creative in your mind to think outside the box, particularly with the concerns of our citizens?
So we could explore moving the building back. We could also explore putting up fencing around the property, fencing and landscape, or a mixture of both. But as we get into moving the building back more, the only issue is trucks and Sprinter vans being able to get into the truck court. But that's something we could absolutely look into doing, and we can remove trailer parking spaces from the back in order to shift the building back. That's something we're amenable to doing.
Thank you for your response.
Thank you very much.
Certainly not an engineer. I'm just
No,
trying to
I
all
tried my
over-
best.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Sir, no, sir.
No.
No, sir, you've already spoken. Thank you. I yield the floor back to you, Chairman
Thank you
Simmons.
very much, Madam Chairman. Planning and Zoning Board, you've heard the discussion. We've got 3 items for this particular matter. We'll take them up one at a time. Do I have a motion on M 2025-01, the map amendment?
Yes, this is Brandon Penham. I make a motion to deny application M 2025-01, a request for future land use map amendment from CVC to WC.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
This is Melissa Polk. I second that.
Thank you very much. I have a motion and a second. Planning and Zoning Board, do we have any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion to deny M 2025-01, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. That's unanimous.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, M 2025-01 comes to the board with a unanimous recommendation for denial.
Thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I would like to also, with what Planning and Zoning stated, M 2025-01 in the form of a denial.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, board? Okay, no discussion. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor of a denial, please indicate by raising your right hand. Okay. All opposed of the denial? We have a 3-1 vote and the motion carries for denial.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Okay, at this point in time, we need to continue through the 2 other items. A motion on Z 2025-44, the rezoning.
This is Brandon Penham. I make a motion to deny application Z 2025-04, a request for, dash 44. I'll restate that. This is Brandon Penman. I'll make a motion to deny application Z 2025-44, which is a request for rezoning from CHC and RLD to LIR for a 320,000 square foot warehouse.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Rob Thomas, I second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion to deny Z 2025-44, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Madam Chairman, Z 2025-41 comes to you with a unanimous recommendation for denial.
Thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion as planning and stated by Planning and Zoning Z 2025-44 as in the form of a motion for denial.
Denial on, is it denial for
Deny.
rezoning? For rezoning? Can you be specific?
Z 2025.
Yeah, you're correct. I was just saying for
Denial.
for rezoning. Is it
That is the
denial?
rezoning
Oh, yes.
part of it. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of denial for the rezoning, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 4-0 unanimous vote and the motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Okay, Planning and Zoning, I now need a motion on the special use permit S 2025-45. Could I have a motion on that, please?
It's Brandon Penman. I make a motion to deny application S 2025-24, special use permit. Excuse me. I make a motion to deny application S 2025-45 for special use permit.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
This is Melissa Polk. I second it.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of a motion to deny S 2025-45, all in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. That is also unanimous on S 2025-45 for denial.
Thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to, as stated by Planning and Zoning, to deny S 2025-45, and again, in the form of a motion for denial.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of denial, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 4-0 unanimous vote and the motion carries. I yield the floor back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Our next agenda item, please. Mr. Cronin.
Yes, sir. Our next agenda item is S 2025-53. This is a special use permit. Should I give it?
Stand by a minute. Let these folks get out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Yes, sir. S 2025-53. This is a request for a special use permit to allow outdoor storage located at 4511 Industrial Access Road. The lot is 3.5 acres. This is in Commission District Number 1. So a 6,000 square foot industrial building built in 1997 is sited. Current outdoor storage is located to the side, to the rear of the building. The applicant is the current tenant of the building and is currently approved to operate as a contractor for excavation and site preparation. The applicant is proposing a gravel outdoor storage area to the side of the existing principal building with proposed fencing. Staff's taken a look at the relevant code sections. The current outdoor storage located to the rear of the building was a by right use that has been active since at least 2002 from historic aerials. The amendment to require a special use permit was introduced in 2010. So the request for any new outdoor storage area is required to proceed with a special use permit to properly entitle the use as lawfully established. The request would require disturbance of the currently wooded area on the site, which you'll see in just a second. So we've taken a look at the special use criteria. It's currently rezoned light industrial. And here's a picture as it's currently developed. The wooded area would be on the west side, the southwest. And from the site plan, you can somewhat see the designated area for outdoor storage along the southwest within the currently wooded area. It's in the Workplace Center, Future Land Use, and the Veterans Memorial Highway Professional Corridor character area. Staff's recommending approval with the condition of the special use permit based upon the findings that the use will not modify the comprehensive plan or the intent, purpose, or spirit of the Unified Development Code. The granting of the special use permit will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, and the special use will allow the outdoor storage use to be properly entitled and lawfully established. The condition that staff is recommending is that the applicant shall coordinate with the Douglas County Arborist to create a landscaping plan that provides for a dense vegetative screening buffer to screen the outdoor storage from the right-of-way of Industrial Access Road. Preservation of existing trees is preferred. If preservation of the existing trees is not feasible, the applicant shall provide for a replanted vegetative screening buffer to screen the outdoor storage from the right-of-way of Industrial Access Road, acceptable to the Douglas County Arborist. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cronin. At this point in time, I'll open the public hearing on this matter. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application, including the applicant or the applicant's representative, please approach the podium. If you would state your name and address for the record, and in 2 minutes.
My name's Shane Martin, 44 Garnett Drive, Ackworth, Georgia. We are at this facility. We're trying to store some blasting mats. They're rubber tire mats that actually they're at 10 by 20 by about 3 foot tall, and they're stackable. What we use them for is to cover the blast. Instead of using earth cover to cover it, we use these big tire mats to cover it. And so we don't have the room now with what we have graded, and we're trying to cut in there for a lay-down yard for these blasting mats.
Okay. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. Before you go, do you heard the conditions? Are you in agreement with the condition?
I am.
Okay, great. If you just stand by, I'm sure we'll have some questions in a moment.
Okay.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Crowd's kind of thinned out. Seeing no one moving, I'll close the public hearing in favor and open the public hearing in opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition, please approach the podium. Again, seeing no one moving, I will close the public hearing on this matter. Planning and Zoning Board, do you have any questions of the applicant or of staff? Hearing none. Madam Chairman, I'll throw it to the Board of Commissioners for any questions you folks may have.
Okay, thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, do we have any questions for the applicant and staff? I just have one question for our staff.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Austin. What are you recommending? This says staff recommends the following condition, but it doesn't say exactly what are you recommending. Are you recommending approval? What is it?
Oh, yes, ma'am. We're recommending approval
Okay,
with
just
that
didn't
condition.
see it.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank
Sorry.
you. All right, that's all I have for you.
Yes,
All right, I yield the floor back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Planning and Zoning Board, you've heard the discussion. Do I have a motion on S 2025-53, please?
This is Melissa Polk. I make a motion for recommendation of approval for agenda item S 2025-53, a request for a special use permit to allow the expansion of the existing parcel by half an acre located at 4511 Industrial Access Road, Douglasville 30134.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
My apologies, I'll restate that. This is Melissa Polk. I'm making a recommendation for approval with the conditions stated of agenda item S 2025-53, a request for a special permit to allow the expansion of the existing parcel by a half an acre located at 4511 Industrial Access Road, Douglas 30134.
Now I have a motion. Do I have a second?
With the condition. With the conditions.
I did state the conditions in the
Okay,
beginning.
She's got
Second.
the conditions in there. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving S 2025-53, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. Madam Chairman, S 2025-53 comes to you with a unanimous recommendation for approval with the conditions read into the record.
Okay, thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve item S 2025-53 with the said conditions as stated by staff and by the Planning and Zoning Board. So again, in the form of a motion of approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 4-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. I keep saying 5 because it's 5 of us, so please forgive me. We have a 4-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Best of luck to you, sir, going forward. Thank you very much. All right, next agenda item, please. Is that yours, Mr. Cronin?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So our next
Oh,
item.
wait a minute.
It's Rob Thomas. I'm going to recuse myself from the next two agenda items. That's special use permit S 2025-51 and 2025-52.
Okay. Thank you, sir. You just stand by a minute. He needs to exit the room.
Can I quick question there? Are we not moving with 2025-50 or?
It was
No,
withdrawn.
Oh,
withdrawn.
that was, okay,
That was
got it.
withdrawn earlier.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay. I'm gonna recuse that.
Real quick, Austin, are we taking both of these together? Is this one application, just
No,
two different
no.
addresses?
There'll be separate items, yes, sir.
Two separate items.
Yes,
Two
sir.
separate items.
Beautiful. Thanks.
Okay. So our next item is S 2025-51, a special use permit to allow outdoor storage at 13201 Veterans Memorial Highway. The lot is 2.5 acres. This is in Commission District Number 4. A 9,000 square foot industrial building built in 1991 is sited. The current accessory outdoor storage use is located to the side of the principal building. The applicant is requesting the special use permit so as to entitle the outdoor storage use currently active on the property in order to establish it as lawfully established use. Because with outdoor storage, it's difficult to establish when it was lawfully established unless we have it clear in the record. It would have to comply with Article 3, Section 305 of the Unified Development Code. We've taken a look at the relevant code sections, which is Article 3, Section 305 of the Unified Development Code. In 1988, it was rezoned from R1 to M1 light industrial for a grading business. The current outdoor storage use is an accessory use permitted by right that has been active since at least 1999 from historic aerials. The amendment to require the special use permit came from a 2010 amendment. Entitling the use as lawfully established use is recommended since it's difficult to determine if the use was permitted as a by right use at the timing of the zoning ordinance. This would aid the tenant in understanding of what outdoor storage is permitted, and it would define the outdoor storage area and adequately screen and landscape the outdoor storage area as well. Lawfully establishing the use at a particular date and time allows a more robust administration of the Unified Development Code and holds the screening and all relevant codes to the standards at the time of the request. The applicants have submitted a variance to reduce the side and rear yard setbacks to 0 feet. This is to be heard at the June 16th Planning and Zoning Board meeting. We've taken a look at the special use criteria. It's currently zoned light industrial, and to the south is Douglasville property, the quarry. Here's a picture of how it's been currently developed, and here are some drone shots of how the outdoor storage is currently on the property. A few additional. And here's a picture of the site survey, the as-built conditions on the lot. It's in the Workplace Center Future Land Use in the Winston Character Area. Staff's recommending approval with conditions of the special use permit based upon the findings that the use will not modify the comprehensive plan or the intent, purpose, or spirit of the Unified Development Code. The granting of the special use permit will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. And the special use permit will allow the outdoor storage use to be properly entitled and deemed lawfully established in the record. Staff recommends the following conditions: that the applicant shall prepare a landscaping plan that provides a front landscape strip to provide an opaque screen of the outdoor storage from the right-of-way of Veterans Memorial Highway, subject to the discretion of the Douglas County Arborist. And the applicant shall install a front landscape strip to provide an opaque screen of the outdoor storage area from the right-of-way of Veterans Memorial Highway. The landscape strip shall include a minimum of 3 canopy trees, 3 understory trees, 2 evergreen trees, and 18 shrubs. and this is to mirror the quality growth overlay standards. And that concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, Mr. Grumman, thank you. At this point in time, I'll open the public hearing on this matter. Mr. Fowler.
Yes, sir. Evening again. Joe Fowler, Post Office Box 49, Douglasville. Allow me to introduce Stuart Veal. He's the applicant on this request for a special use permit to simply echo what just happened, and that is to allow outdoor storage. You saw some photos, and if I may take you back, that's what it looks like on Highway 78. And when we looked at the recommended conditions, what we realized is, when you look carefully at that, by the way, it's been used for that particular use for as long as some of us in this room have been alive. Maybe not me, but or the chairman, Mr. Simmons. But it's been used that way for a long time. And understand the request to beautify. It's going to be very hard to get what has been recommended in terms of landscaping within the narrow corridor that we have outside the right-of-way. And so what we would request with respect to the condition is that we simply be allowed to put the opaque fencing as an alternative. So rather than the condition with respect to those things that you see described both in numbers 1 and number 2, that is the canopy trees, understory trees, and so forth, that we just put the fence there along the front. So we ask for your approval, and at the meeting that's coming up, we'll ask for 0 lot lines around the edge, because when you look at it in proximity to the other uses in the area, what you see is it's heavily industrial to the east and to the south and to the west. That's our presentation. Our request is simple, to approve it, but allow us to use the opaque fencing along the front. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Fowler. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Seeing no one moving, I'll close the public hearing in favor and open the public hearing in opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Again, seeing no one moving, I'll close the public hearing on this matter. Planning and Zoning Board, do you have any questions of staff or Mr. Fowler or the applicant? Hearing none, Madam Chairman, I'll throw it over to the Board of Commissioners for any questions you folks may have.
Okay. Board of Commissioners, you have any questions? Vice Chairman, you have the floor.
This will be for Joe.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, so obviously, you're right, that's probably been like that, probably about as long as you've been alive. But
Thank you.
definitely a lot longer than I've been alive. But that whole area, that whole strip, from the time you leave Bright Star Road till you get down to well past the curb, all of that looks very outdated. So I'm just curious as why the applicant would not be up for at least trying to help the county make that look a little better.
We talked with Travis about that, and he may want to comment as well. Everybody wants it to look better. This is where I live my livelihood. The problem is, if we are outside the right-of-way, if we take the fence down, for example, and put landscaping, it's going to grow into the overhead power lines.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. Can we put shrubbery within the right-of-way? No. And so that was the problem. How do you put in the types of trees that they're talking about when the power line is above? Because they're going to come by and chop them off. That's the rub.
What about shrubbery inside the fence?
Inside the fence, well, perhaps Stuart should respond to that.
Doesn't necessarily have to be trees, because I understand your point. It's going to grow up. But inside the fence, just to make that stretch,
right, so
start to improve.
The spirit of the request, sorry, Stuart Veal, 216 Springdale Drive, Northeast Atlanta, Georgia. The spirit of the request is to entitle the property for its historic use, which historically the property has been operating as outdoor storage all the way up to that fence line. You can go back and look at satellite imagery from the 80s and 90s, and that fence is there. So the concern with the landscaping is that if it's not in the right-of-way and it's not growing up to the power lines, it's going to be inside the fence. So we're going to lose some of the acreage that the property has historically had and has given the property a lot of value is the outdoor storage. If there was some sort of alternative landscaping plan that could fit in that small space between the fence and the right-of-way, which is at various points between 5 and 10 feet, that included shrubbery, shorter trees that didn't grow all the way up to the power line, we'd be happy to do that. We proposed the opaque fencing as just a simple alternative. I'm not an arborist or a landscaping expert, so coming up with what exactly fits and won't grow up to the line and won't take away the acreage was a little out of my scope. To Joe Fowler's point, we want to make it pretty. We're happy to do it. We would just like to have a discussion about what will be practical without losing some of that outdoor storage acreage that the property has enjoyed for, as Joe said, a very long time.
Okay. All right. Madam Chair, I yield back.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I yield the floor back to you.
I would like to
Thank you very
add,
much.
to clarify the condition, that the trees would have to be planted every 100 linear feet, just for clarification on the record.
But would staff be applicable to amending that to be some sort of smaller vegetation that's at least just beautifies it somewhat, along with opaque fencing?
Yes, sir. You are more than welcome to make that a condition, and we would administer it as you
Okay.
would like. Yes, sir.
Wouldn't that be handled in DRC?
Mhm.
If we make it a condition that they would work with DRC on the facade?
So the amendment to the
I mean-
condition for the landscaping, insofar as the amount of trees or evergreen trees and shrubs, it would kind of need to be clarified so that we can better administer it. We do have it subject to the discretion of the Douglas County arborist. So if trees just aren't desired in that location, maybe shrubs is an alternative, then that would be something to amend the condition to read, and then we would administer it in that way.
Okay, how would you state that?
I suppose it would depend on the will of the board. If shrubs are the only items, along with a 6-foot fence, generally the fences are permitted to be about 6 feet, opaque fencing, then that's something that we would
Okay,
administer. Yes, sir.
all right. Mr. Fowler, did you have something?
I was just going to say, we had sort of a sidebar conversation with Travis before the application was reached tonight. I think we can work with the arborist about getting those issues resolved.
Okay, so we make the condition that you would work with the arborist on
Yes.
getting the landscaping.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Planning and Zoning Board, you've heard the discussion. Do I have a motion on S 2025-51?
This is Melissa Polk. I make a motion for approval with the conditions stated by the Planning and Zoning Board for S 2025-51.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor of approving S 2025-51 with the conditions, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Madam Chairman, S 2025-51 comes to you with a recommendation for approval.
Board, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve S 2025-51 with the conditions rated by staff, but in lieu of trees, for the applicant to work with the arborist to do some sort of landscaping, shrubbery, and also to put in the opaque fencing.
Thank you. We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 3-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries with no opposition. And I yield the floor back to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Mr. Cronin, do we have our next agenda item?
Our next agenda item is S 2025-52. This is with the same applicant. This is a request for outdoor storage at 13950 Veterans Memorial Highway. The lot is 2.06 acres. This is in Commission District Number 4. 12,112 square foot single dock warehouse building built in 1986 is sited. A gravel parking lot serves the warehouse building where the loading dock is located. A paved parking lot serves the warehouse building in the front where an office and customer parking would be located. They're applying to entitle the outdoor storage use on this site. Historically, the site has not been used for outdoor storage. We've taken a look at the relevant code sections. The site plan shows an expansion of the existing gravel parking lot and does not delineate a clearly defined outdoor storage area on the property. There's no active occupational tax certification on this property, and any expansion of structures, parking lots, or storage areas would have to abide by any setbacks as expressed in the outdoor storage section of the Unified Development Code, Article 3, Section 305, or the Light Industrial Zoning District. These will be reviewed when the applicant submits their plan to the Development Review Committee. We've taken a look at the special use criteria. The property is zoned light industrial. Here's a site aerial of how it's been developed and a few drone shots of the existing conditions on the site. Here's a survey with the gravel parking expansion as proposed, not dimensioned. It's in the Workplace Center, Future Land Use, and the Winston Character Area. Staff's recommending approval with conditions of the special use permit based upon the findings that deficiency of the site plan provided can be addressed through the Development Review Committee, where all setbacks, buffers, and deficiency of the site in its current form can be addressed. The use will not modify the intent, purpose, or spirit of the Unified Development Code or the Comprehensive Plan, and the granting of the special use permit will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. The conditions staff is proposing are that the incompatible use buffer where abutting residentially zoned property shall not be reduced below the required 50 feet or 30 feet if a structural zoning buffer at least 8 feet in height is utilized. The applicant shall be required to submit a clearly defined site plan to detail the location of the area reserved for outdoor storage and area reserved for additional parking. The site plan shall be submitted to the Development Review Committee for review, and all deficiencies of the site plan or of the site in its current configuration shall be addressed before the occupational tax certification can be issued for any use. The applicant shall provide a landscaping plan that includes a minimum of 3 canopy trees, 3 understory trees, 2 evergreen trees every 100 linear feet, and 18 shrubs to provide an opaque screen subject to the discretion of the Douglas County Arborist. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cronin. At this point in time, I'll open the public hearing on this matter. Mr. Fowler?
Yes, sir.
Ditto.
Thank you again, and Stuart again is on this project as well. He's come to Douglas County to invest in some of these projects. There are photographs that we had. Can you help me with these? I'm going in the wrong direction.
It's way down there.
Oops. Thank you. Scroll down.
Right there.
All right, thank you very much. This property is located across from Aluma on Bankhead Highway, kind of near what used to be the Rock Inn Cafe. This is on the right before Rock Inn's on the left, and you'll see that in recent months, a fence has been placed along the frontage of the property to improve the appearance of it rather substantially. With respect to, and by the way, the only thing that's happening with this project is we are here for a special use permit so that outdoor storage is permitted on the site. It's been used for industrial purposes for a long, long time. You can see that there's already striped, paved parking for any employees, but the area that you see there in green, and there's probably something in your package that it would show the portion of the site that's going to be gravelled, that is less than an acre. And for that reason, we don't plan actually to do anything in the nature of a site plan that would require approval by the DRC. They're just going to put gravel down in the area that's grassed. There is already striped parking for the employees. With respect to the neighboring properties, as you'll see immediately, it looks like it's south, but it's to the north. That's Fowler Cabinet Company, no relation, wish they were, but that's Fowler Cabinet Company, and those are delivery vehicles. So they have outdoor storage of delivery vehicles, 0 lot line. The property to the east is industrial. The property farther east is industrial. The property to the west, it looks like the right, it is technically zoned residentially. I went there for the purpose of determining whether it looks like anybody is living there. I'm sure staff has done an investigation. Maybe some of you happened to drive by in preparation for tonight's meeting. If it's residential, I would be shocked. You can see, I've only got 2 minutes.
Okay. Hold on, we'll be okay.
All right.
We may have some questions in a minute. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Mr. Veal?
I'll try to finish where Joe left off. Be as quick as I can. The requests here too are mostly revolving around the conditions. The same discussion on the landscaping as the last one. We've got a fence, we've got a right of way, we've got overhead power lines. We'd like the same condition that we work with the arborists to do something there that makes sense, that doesn't have tall trees growing into the power lines or require us to tear down our nice pretty fence that was just built. The second thing that Joe was alluding to is that we are putting down less than an acre, probably half an acre of gravel. And we would like the condition for us to go through the DRC, Development Review Committee, to be removed, as we're not adding impervious surface, we're not building a structure, we're not really developing anything, we're just putting down gravel. So we would like that to be removed. And I think what Joe was saying is the property at the bottom of this picture, immediately to the north, they're already operating outdoor storage yard with zero lot line, gravel down. We're just trying to do the same thing as they are. And I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Fields, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Seeing no one moving, I close the hearing in favor and open the hearing in opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Okay, seeing no one moving, I'll close the public hearing on this matter. Planning and Zoning Board, do you have any questions of Mr. Fowler, Mr. Veal, or staff?
This is Melissa. I have a question for the applicant. So currently, you're stating that you're preparing this for a tenant, a possible tenant, or you already have a tenant who's going to take this space?
We do not have a tenant that's in mind for the space. We would not have a tenant even entertain moving to a site like this without us getting through these approvals, because they wouldn't be able to get the business license. But there's a lot of demand from contractors that would, in this part of the county, that this space would be ideal for. So we're doing this on spec, so to speak.
So you're wanting to utilize this space for storage of vehicles, that's the reason why you're putting down the gravel, is that correct?
That's correct. So it could be anything from fleet vehicles, like the vehicles you see in the bottom of that picture on the neighboring site, sprinter vans. It could be construction equipment, tractors, excavators. It could be building materials. Basically, there's all sorts of things that it could be potentially. We wouldn't know until we had that tenant. But the employee parking will be in the front of the building, outside of the fence, in the striped area, and then behind the fence and behind whatever landscape buffer that we're hopefully going to get with the arborist on and figure out. That would be the outdoor storage area for fleet, tractors, construction equipment, building materials, things like that. Yeah.
So I guess my question in behind it is that for two reasons. One, we just recently approved a parking facility, per se, storage facility for vehicles, just a little further down the road, going more towards the Douglasville area, which it is a storage place for large vehicles. And my other question is that while you do not know the tenant that you're subjecting to do this for, is that you actually don't know the type of volume of driving in and out and all of those things that could come about. And as a resident, while Mr. Fowler had stated that he looked and he saw that it was likely not a resident area, maybe per se around directly in the vicinity of that facility, but there are residents fully around that area. So if you chose a tenant who had a lot of coming in and coming out during whatever hours, being able to utilize those fleets and being able to utilize those vehicles, that's going to disturb the flow of traffic and also noises. So I just really, I guess I can say that I'm really reluctant about it simply because I live near this facility.
Yeah.
And so I have some concerns about that. And knowing that we just approved another one shortly down the road as well, my concern to you is that not knowing who you're going to utilize this for worries me.
Sure. Well, to alleviate your, I hear that. I appreciate it. To alleviate your concern just a little bit, in the world of outdoor storage, there's kind of truck parking, which is the coming and going all the time, big 18-wheelers, tons of ingress, egress, a lot of noise. And then there's contractor yards and building materials and these smaller niche businesses that may have a fleet of vans or delivery trucks that are typically operating in normal business hours, don't have huge volume, and are not just not as high flow as it's like a pure play truck parking facility. This site would never be a truck parking facility. There's not enough turning radius. There's not, you can't imagine a tractor trailer even getting into the site. So what we have in mind is a local business, most likely a contractor, someone that is doing work on the highways in the area, someone that's doing site work on some of these industrial projects and data centers that you guys are approving, someone that's directly contributing to the growth of Douglas County, employees locally, coming and going in and out of the county, supporting what's happening in the county, not a truck terminal where trucks are going to be coming in and going out all over the state and all over the southeast and making noise all in the neighborhood. This is going to be something that's going to add value directly to Douglas County and be a local investment.
Understood. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Any other questions, planning and zoning? Hearing none, Madam Chairman, I'll throw over the Board of Commissioners for questions.
Okay, any questions, Board of Commissioners? Vice Chairman, you have the floor.
Okay, this is again for applicant, because I just got confused, because you mentioned earlier that you're going to have excavators there, but I've never seen a truck pull an excavator. It's usually a semi-truck. So
Okay.
you mentioned that you're talking about rental equipment, just like not even a quarter of a mile, there's Hertz right next to this on the other side of Winston Elementary School. But you just mentioned excavators, but even with my dually, I cannot pull an excavator. So it's going to take a semi-truck.
Right.
But you said there's no room to turn a semi-truck around in there.
No, if there's not enough room for a truck parking facility, like a pure play truck parking facility. Every industrial warehouse in this corridor is going to have some truck traffic.
Sure.
Materials coming in, equipment coming in, product going out. It's not the high volume all day, all night of a truck parking facility. It's operating in the normal, even the equipment rental location that you mentioned. That company is operating in normal business hours. They, someone come and rents a piece of equipment, it leaves, it goes out onto a site for a few months, it comes back a few months later, right? It's not constantly churning. The distinction I was drawing between a trailer yard, where it's high volume, and a contractor yard, I think still stands. But I take your point there, if there was someone here that had heavy equipment, that heavy equipment would have to come and go by truck, but it wouldn't be getting daily truck traffic.
Okay. And why so reluctant to changing the setbacks?
Because the value of the site to us is the usable outdoor storage. The outdoor storage that you see there, if we extended the gravel that currently exists and added another half acre or so, it'd only be about an acre of gravel. And if you start moving setbacks in from all sides, you're losing more and more of that. And then at that point, the special use permit for outdoor storage is not really of much value because you can't really store anything outdoors at that point.
But yet you don't have a client yet, so you don't know really what's being stored out there. So if we reduced it down to zero, then they could put anything right on somebody else's, almost right up to somebody's property line. Correct?
That is correct, just like the neighbor to the north of us is doing currently.
Okay. All right. I'll yield back, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other questions? I just had a question for the applicant. Is there any consideration for, along that Veteran Memorial Highway area, the thoroughfare is relatively dark at night, particularly at night. Any consideration for censored lighting, outdoor solar, LED lights and cameras? Can you speak to your plan if you have one?
Yeah, most likely the yard will be lit. That's a typical requirement of tenants for these spaces, is that the yard be lit. And we'd be open to lighting recommendations as well. Those will probably be custom tailored to whatever tenant we attract. But if you guys wanted to comment on the lighting, that's something we'd be happy to entertain. Yeah.
I've got one more. after you're done.
Vice Chair, you have the floor.
And I just want to mention that little house right there, that is a residential home. I've passed by there and seen at least somebody getting in and out of a car and going inside. So that little house right there is a little residential house. So I yield back, Madam Chair.
Okay. So, did you finish your statement regarding the lights? You said you would be considered, I'm not forcing lights on you. I'm just asking what your plans are. Do you have any plans?
We do not have any plans at the moment, but it is typical that these outdoor storage lots are lit. So more than likely, there will be lighting. And if you
Okay.
guys wanted to weigh in on the lighting, we'd be happy to hear it. That would not affect our plans at all.
You have any anticipation of folks coming in at night to, would they be coming to the site at night? Maybe it's something that's just operated during the day out, doing the.
No, normally it's just
Daytime
for
hours.
security. It's just for security to not have the.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, security as
It's
well.
not that they'd be operating at night. Yeah, that's right.
Applicants, the staff, is that something we want to consider? I'm just throwing it out there. I'm trying to make it stick, but it makes sense because it's for security purposes.
Yes, ma'am. We could definitely have that as a condition on here, and the condition to have it go to the Development Review Committee, it would have to go to the Development Review Committee regardless. So the Douglas County engineer usually checks the site lighting plans.
Yeah.
So that's something that, if conditioned, we could definitely check for.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, thank you so much, Austin.
Madam Chair, I do have a question.
I started something.
Yeah, you did.
Commissioner Raxon, you have the floor.
All right, this is for the applicant. So I guess my concern is, I'm still not hearing that there's a formal tenant yet. So what does that look, how long could this stay vacant?
I'm going to let my business partner speak to this a little bit.
BOC, 1160 Niles Ave, Northwest Atlanta. So I am the broker, the leasing broker for Mr. Beal here, and I do a lot of work leasing industrial and commercial properties in Douglasville and the surrounding area. And a property like this that's less than 2 acres with a facility less than 15,000 square feet is pretty much solely going to be occupied by a local or regional, contractor, subcontractor, or use similar to that profile. And we have several that we know are in the market offhand. Nearly all of these groups are going to need outdoor storage to some capacity. Nearly none of them have more than 1 trailer come on the property per day, bringing equipment or things of that nature. And I would actually say if you do indeed add that additional ½ acre of gravel, you open up the building, which is currently 12,000 square feet with 6 dock high doors, to a potential tenancy or downhill occupiers of that space that will actually have less traffic. Because without that additional ½ acre of storage, you're pretty much solely limited to distribution, which means heavier flow through, because there's really no capacity to do anything else on that site.
Okay. So just to clarify, you have a pretty robust list of potential tenants.
Correct.
That will be able to go in there. And
Correct.
this would not be sitting vacant for a period of time.
This, I would say, if the most highly sought after property, and I won't even say just Douglas County, but in the entire Atlanta SMA, is a small facility, call it 5,000 to 15,000 square feet with a couple acres of outdoor storage. And again, that services the local companies, the mom and pops, the regional groups with less than 5 locations that can't afford to pay more than $15,000 a month and go to these big concrete tilt warehouses where we are seeing all of the heavy traffic counts come out of.
Okay. Then my last question is about the gate there, and what type of security or other security measures do you have for the vehicle and the equipment that's being stored?
So there was a brand new gate and fence that was just installed. Most of these sites, we will install additional security cameras on top of the lighting, and that tends to cover most of our occupiers' concerns.
Okay, and will there be like an access card, or how will applicants get in and out?
Yeah, most of these are motorized gates that have a key fob and or a keypad. There's new technology where you can actually use apps to verify that and insert IDs, but we tend to do a motorized gate.
Okay, so is that part of the gate now? That would be something in addition to the existing gate?
I believe the gate now And I'd have to confirm that. I believe it is motorized, but I'd have to double check.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I yield the floor back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Raxton. I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Planning and Zoning Board, you've heard the discussion. Do I have a motion on S 2025-52?
This is Melissa Polk, and I'd like to make a motion for denial of agenda item S 202552 for a special use permit to allow construction equipment rental and leasing with outdoor storage located at 13950 Veterans Memorial Highway, Winston, Georgia 30187.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of a motion to deny S 2025-52, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Thank you very much. Madam Chairman, S 2025-52 comes to you with a recommendation from denial with a vote of 3 to 1.
Okay, thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and the answers. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to deny S 2025-52.
Okay.
Second.
Do we have a motion and a second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand of denial. We have a 3-0 vote for denial, and the motion carries. I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. At this point in time, having nothing else to come before this board, I'll declare the Planning and Zoning Board adjourned.
Board of Commissioners, at this time, we have nothing else to come before this board. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor for adjournment, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 3-0 vote, and the motion carries to adjourn, and good night.